So on this page, we're going to start to talk about regression, which we'll be doing for the next two lessons. It says the calculator has a statistics menu where data represented as lists can be used to calculate various statistical measures. This unit, we're looking at regression or finding lines or curves of best fit for the data. Regression can also be used to check exact equations for a number of problems where coordinates are given. And that's actually where we're going to start from, since last lesson we were working from 2 points to find equations of linear and exponential functions. So we're going to start out, and our steps are here. So in order to enter data into the calculator, we have to press the stat button, which is right under delete. Then to enter the data, we need to choose edit. Right now my lists are cleared because I just cleared my calculator. We'll talk about clearing the lists in the next problem. So in my first example, which is exercise 2, if I am going to enter this data in the lists, my x's and y's will be my L1 and my L2. So my first point is 236 and my second point is 121.5. So L1, I have a 2 and a 5. And in L2, I have 36 and 121.5. So the type we want here, it says the equation of a line. So that's linear. And in my menu, these are the 4 options. So we choose number 4, lit red. So once the data is entered, I can press the stat button again. I want to go over to the calculate menu, which is the second one. And you'll see choice 4 is the linear regression I want. 8 is another type of linear regression where it switches up the order of the y-intercept and slope. I prefer number 4 because that's usually the order that we do in math. So I press enter through this menu. L1, L2 are my 2 lists. And I'm going to get this equation. So I get an a and a b value to plug into ax plus b. And I just write down the equation, plugging in those numbers. I have plus negative 21, which we know we can write as minus 21. And over here, I cut and paste the work we learned yesterday using the system of equations, and you'll see we get the same answer. So in the next problem, we're going to go through those steps again, so this is a good chance to make sure you understand the calculator. This is just an exponential problem. So setting up my table, my x's are 2 and 5 again, and my y's are 192 and 12,280. So I go to my stat button and edit to enter those numbers in. I don't want to press delete here, but I put my cursor up on L1, and I can press clear enter. You can also clear the data values individually. Delete the data values individually. So if I press delete on each data value, I can delete the numbers. It's a lot faster and obviously works better because I guess I don't know how to do it that way. So I don't know how to do it that way. So the better thing to do is put your cursor up on L1 and L2 and press clear enter. So from here, we can enter our new information. So we have our 2 points in, and 2 points is enough that there's one unique exponential equation that goes through those 2 points. So we go to our stat menu, we go over to calc, we are looking for exponential, and nicely, it is not hard to find in the menu. We're looking for something that looks like the word exponential, and that is xreg or 0. So if you just press the number 0, it would work as well. We'll see the same menu. We're going to press enter through it. And now we have a different type of equation. We have a times b to the x. So the a is 12. The b is 4. We could write multiplication. Usually we write that in parentheses. Either way is fine. And we do see that with the algebraic system of equations way that we got the same answer. So we're going to look at a couple other problems that we haven't done this year, which will lead us into other types of regression. So we can see how that works as well. So here it says write an equation in standard form for a quadratic polynomial that has zeros of negative 5 and 2, and also passes through the point 3, negative 24. So if I have a 0 of negative 5, that means on a graph that's the point -5, 0. So in my table, I can write -5, 0. In the same way, I'm going to write 2, 0. And then my last point I have is 3, -24. I don't have to have my x values in order from smallest to largest, but I do have to make sure that the correct x's are paired up with the correct y's. So we're looking for a quadratic regression. First, I have to enter that data in. And now I have -5, 2, 3, and 0, 0, and a -24. So we'll go to our stat menu, go over to calc, and it looks like choice 5 is the quadratic regression. And there we'll see our basic ax squared plus bx plus c, which we know is the equation of a quadratic. So my equation here is -3x squared minus 9x plus 30. And at any point, if I go to my y equals and I enter that equation, or any of the other equations we've found, for these exact problems, we'll talk about other types of problems, we should see in our table those points. So if I go back, I see -5, 0, I see 2, 0, and I see 3, -24. So we're going to try a couple more. This is our last type of regression, which is a power function. If you remember power functions from Unit 3, they're in this form. A little different than an exponential function. An exponential function has the x in the exponent. A power function has some number in the exponent. So we're going to go ahead and enter that information. We have 1, 6, and 320. So I didn't write my table because I want to show you don't have to, but my x's are 1 and 3. And to go with them, the y's are 6 and 20. So if I go to stat and then calc, the power regression is further towards the bottom, so it's letter A. I press enter through my menu. I see that form of the power function, and this equation is 6 times x. So I could put that x in parentheses, I don't have to. And I didn't say what to round to here. Let's say nearest hundredth. So that's going to be 1.10 up here because that 5 is going to bump it over. So our next one says find the equation of the quadratic function that passes through those points 1, 6, and 320. So I don't have to edit my data because I already have it there. I can check and make sure I do. And then I'm going to go to stat calc and choose the quadratic regression. So it says value entered is not allowed in the function or command. This is not a great explanation of what's wrong. It gives me some weird stuff about radian and degree mode. The main issue of why this won't work is because a quadratic function has 3 parameters or 3 values that you need to find. So we know from solving equations that means I need 3 inputs or 3 data points. You can't find a specific quadratic function that goes through 2 points. There's actually a bunch of different ones, so it won't find this. Whereas if I add any other point, a third point, it will be able to find something. So for here, there's an error, and you need 3 points at least. We are going to look a little more into deciding between types of regressions, but that is the basics of the calculator functions.